Thank you.
There is that element to it.
Ian Byrne.
Just want to touch on the issue around the North East Coast, Secretary of State.
Yes.
So we welcome the government's commitment to establishing an independent panel to examine the devastating impact of the die-off of sea life from October 2021. And I think to give the confidence in the evidence session that we've seen of the people who were involved in it, how would the panel members be chosen and what are the timescales for it reporting back?
Well, I've basically asked my scientific advisor to make sure I have a report in January. So that's the remit I've given him.
So it's the scientific advisors that are going to be... So was the independence come into that?
Well, I'm leaving that to the scientific advisor to work out, but there already has been a lot of work done on this. I thought that the committee, of course, heard from a particular academic and concerns locally, and we committed to having a review. I'm not intending to have a brand new, huge inquiry. I think it's got to be timely and in that regard.
Still at a loss where the independence coming into it, if it's your scientific advisors from the department?
Well, the scientific advisor is arranging that panel to come and give some views and advice and discussion of aspects of reviewing evidence.
I'm not filled with any confidence that that's independent yet.
So will there be, in effect, peer reviewing the evidence supporting the two theories and coming to a conclusion on that? And will those scientists be not other than scientists who've been involved on one side or the other of that
That's
debate?
my understanding, yeah.
So,
Okay.
I mean, the first thing is that our chief scientific advisor has not been involved in
He
any
hasn't
way,
been involved in it so far.
and he's bringing panel members together who've not been involved in any way to build that independence. And this is to be able to do this.
Some other panel members outside the department as well?
Yes, it'll be outside the
Independent voices.
department, and people who have not been involved so far. So to bring that degree of independence that you described, but the other wishes to do this speedily. So by him bringing those together, we're able to do it speedily and produce a report for the Secretary.
He's going to be reporting back after New Year.
Well, I've asked for it for next month, yeah.
Next month.
Yeah, January. Yeah.
So just to follow on from that, we've had the government's response to our letter stating the assessment of the economic impact, which was devastating from the evidence session. If you'd actually seen, if you took time to actually see the evidence session and listen to the local fishermen, it really was quite emotional, really, listening to them and how they've been, the impact it's had. One of the key things was the financial support that come from local businesses and the Fishermen's Mission. So now we're a year into the original event. Will the government commit to financial support like it's been asked for in the letter, which we wrote here about setting up a dedicated separate fund to support effective fisheries, potters and the regeneration of crab and lobster stocks?
Well, I'm not going to make any commitments until I've seen this from my scientific advisor, pulling together people in this panel.
So just on that, so what are we actually doing now with regards to the people who've been affected and are actually getting looked after by their own communities, and they were in absolute abject poverty? So what are we doing on a local level? What can we do to resolve that situation? Because they touched on, some of the advice was about the seafood fund, which wasn't doing what was required. They couldn't access that. So what are we actually doing about the people now?
Well, I don't think the seafood fund is designed to do this, so I don't see that either. But I can't make any commitments on this financially. I need to understand further, and that's what I'm asked our scientific advisor to pull together. There are economic analysts involved as well, but
Thank you. Cheryl, I think you've got a
supplement. Yeah, just as a very quick supplementary, Secretary of State, if a fishing vessel, for instance, trawled up a waste cylinder which was disposed of by an MOD vessel or a commercial vessel, they would seek compensation from that body for the catch that they've lost. So it's imperative, is it not, that this independent inquiry reports first, because it may be that there is a potential for any fishing vessel to make an application to receive compensation from anybody that is shown to be responsible?
I think the approach you're suggesting, Mrs. Murray, is more kind of the regular approach to how some of these compensation factors happen. But I can't really say any more until I have more coming back.
And it's right that we should wait for that panel to report. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there's two separate issues here. One is the cause of the problem. There's two distinct theories which your scientists hopefully will be able to come to a view on. But I think secondly, the impact on local fishing communities, particularly those who can't go further out than 3 miles, where there is crab and lobster. I think it's something that we certainly took evidence from those fishing families and those communities that it was continuing to have an impact, and will for some years, because of the longevity of the crustaceans that they catch. But thank you anyway for clarifying where we are on that. Barry Gardner.
Thank you, Chair. Before, I want to talk to you about